there, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt, and as you can see, I've currently got my other balded brother, Joe Donnelly, on screen. Me, we will have Paddy hopefully in the interim. He was dropping out. That's what happens with that sort of internet thing when you go offshore and you leave the kids and everybody else to get in charge. So Paddy will join us. I'm sure you'll be looking forward to hearing from him. Not seen his big fizzog in a while as he's been away working, but we're here to raise a glass and a toast to the champions. Champions again, it kind of rolls off the tongue. And let me tell you something, Joe, it never, ever, ever gets tedious. It never gets tiresome. It never gets boring. I like it. How you doing,
Bring
mate?
on the new flags. Absolutely. And I think we can say we're definitely all happy about yesterday's result. Either way, it was going to go in our favour, so that was great. But yeah, I'm very, very happy about that. So
absolutely. And as he says, listen, there's plenty to shout about. And as it says there, the best can only get better, because this is merely another notch on the belt, so to speak. The train keeps on going. The juggernaut that is Celtic keeps on rolling. And we are, of course, got a final to look forward to as well. We've got a game against Rangers next week coming up. And things can only get better. Records can be set, so on and so forth. And we'll cover all of that. But before we do, as we always do, the wee bit of housekeeping at the start there, as we say, welcome back to the channel. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much for your continued support. If you're new, a warm welcome to you. The most important thing, costs you absolutely nothing to do it. Hit that subscribe button. And if you like what you're seeing here, get the wee thumbs up. Want to go one mental? Share it out there. Tell your friends, tell your pals, tell your family, anybody. Invite them into the community here at Celtic World Order. If you want to help out the channel, and you can, completely optional. Member sections, a wee $1.99 donation. Puts all this stuff together. Such as one of our members, the original. He's been a member for 10 months. The original, the OG 420 somewhere. And we are greatly appreciative of that. If you want to be joining the 420 train, you can. We say hit that, but no obligation. We're just happy that you're here and you want to talk Celtic with us. You can get us on our social media. X is the main one, at CWPod 1888. Paddy Boy does the TikTok, if that's your bag, at Celtic World Order Pod. And of course, Spotify for catching up. Blue Sky, everything else in between. Get yourself involved. So, mate, as we say, we're here to talk about it. The inevitable happened.
Yes.
Celtic now the most successful club in Scotland. Facto. Yes. Get yourself down there. I know you've got a bit of decorating skill. Get yourself down to Ibrox, some blue paint over all that stuff.
I wouldn't dare. Listen, there's no point stirring the pot and making the wounds sting any more than what they will be, you know.
Mate, and you could charge them absolutely nothing. I mean, you wouldn't get paid anyway, as we know, because at this current time, they don't have any money. I mean, don't worry, during summer, they'll have loads of it, apparently. But you could do it for nothing just to see their sad faces. Get yourself down there. Go and remind them.
I might. You never know. What a weekend. We're all over the moon, and, you know, the other side will just need to swallow it, and that's it.
That's it. It's run. We're written another record. That's it. Well, we criticised, as we say, when we came on before, mate, we were getting a wee bit criticised, the tedious jokes and all that. You know, it was getting tedious according to some quarters of the media. It was getting tedious according to the rest of Scottish football, because, you know, it must be crap when you're not winning, right? Let's be honest here. Yep. But we've done it, and they went some way to say that it's hardly vintage, it's hardly rip-roaring, free-flowing and all that kind of stuff. They're just trying to detract from the constant success around Celtic. But there is still records to be set, and let's be honest, mate, with the goal-scoring antics that we've been doing the past couple of games, I think we'll destroy it, which is we're in sight of that 106 goals scored in a season, previously set by a BrendanRodgers team, of course. We're 103 goals. We will get 3 goals between now and the end of the season, right?
I've got to 100%. Like, I don't think that's in doubt in anyone's mind. I think even Brendan's sitting there going, "Come on, lads, come on."
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. Well, as we see, the numbers are starting to turn in for you that are joining in. Get your thoughts up there. Anything that's particularly at this point where we got the title over the line, highlights, players you want to talk about, thoughts on the game at the weekend there. Let us know. We'll try and get as many of them up as well. But as we say, rather than just jumping straight in the game, as we say, we're here for a celebration. We're here to celebrate all things good about the season, all things good about Celtic. And, mate, you are going to love this, because we're going to start off the jump off point. Speaking of success, setting records, there's a certain player. You're excited when you're a wee boy at
I want
Christmas.
you
Yes,
drum roll there,
you're an
mate. Come
ugly
on.
chap getting asked out to the prom, because we're going to be talking about this boy here, James Forrest, officially now Celtic's most decorated player. 26 trophies, 26 medals. Of course,
Fabulous.
let's not get ahead of ourselves. 1 pending, shall we say there. 13 leagues, 7 Scottish Cups with, as we said, 1 pending in the post, 6 League Cups. And, mate, we know that he's your boy. We know that you love him. Debut boy in 09 to 10 season. Since then, in total 522 appearances for Celtic. And that's interesting when I was pulling the stats. He scored 109 goals.
Yeah.
But also assisted just as many.
Aye, absolutely. Because I've said it loads of times. The opportunities that he creates are phenomenal. So he's not just a fantastic goal scorer. The opportunities that he creates and the way he can work the ball. And we all know he's pretty damn rapid, even if he has got a daft run, shall we all say? But he's a phenomenal player. I think as an all rounder on the wing, he's been excellent since day one. I can't sing his praises enough. I do try not to be too rose tinted glasses with him, but I can't help it.
Wait a minute, stop right now. You mate, last time you were on, you were trying to get him the Young Player of the Year award, right?
I'm just saying. Listen, he's only a year older than me, and I still feel young.
Oh my God, bloody hell! He's
Aye.
Where the hell was your bloody well paper round Beirut?
I know, absolutely, mate. It's taking its toll. Trust me, I know. But at least that boy looks better for it. He's been taking home that wage, scoring the goals and pummeling it in the way.
All right, so let's talk. Listen, jump off point. Let's talk about Jamesy Forrest. Let's give him his flowers. He's now written himself well and truly into the annals of Celtic history, as if that was going to be now. The question goes up all the time for many a player, and we say this all the time. See, because he's a homegrown
Steve, I do
talent,
believe we should get him a statue. Yes,
because he's one of our own, because he's a homegrown talent, because he's not James Forrestinho or whatever, right? They get a harder time, don't they? And since his entire time, he's been there, and as BrendanRodgers said, as multiple people have said when speaking about him in the course of this season, the importance of him, what he brings, the professionalism. Brendan says how, still to the day, he's one of the first in, he's one of the hardest trainers, one of the last out. Professionalism on and off the field, no social media, and you never see him wine steamboats on. You never see him spewing up in taxis. You never see him following the bad food and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He literally lives an almost anonymous lifestyle, but he breathes Celtic, and he gives everything his all. And at 33, he has been a phenomenal contributor to this side. And if he's got his way around it, and if BrendanRodgers certainly got his way around it, he's going to be in and around our club for a long, long time. And I'd like to think that beyond that there will be a place for him. I know what they say about giving jobs to the boys and all that, but I think well and truly he is a guy who will and has earned a job for life at Celtic. Absolutely. I think we need to do with James Forrest what we didn't do with Paul McStay, and have him in there as part of the furniture and part of the culture.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. As you say, he's earned his stripes, and no one can take that away from him. Absolutely not. So, in his interview yesterday, he was talking away about his love for the club, and he was talking away about the team as well, and asked, do you feel like this is the most successful team you've been with? And he was straight
it's
to the
point. It's the only team I've been with.
No, sorry, I should have said squad. My apologies. But he's saying, well, listen, I've been with dozens of squads here now, literally, and it's fantastic to see these different new talents coming through, and he's helping along the way, and he's showing the ropes, even if it's just literally on the first day, showing them around the changing rooms. It's something, isn't it? And it's helped him out, as you say. If he stays as part of the furniture, that's a fantastic deal in my eyes, and definitely there should be a place for him no matter what.
Absolutely. Good evening yourself as well, Lindsay. One of our other members, thank you very much there as well.
Thank you, Lindsay.
No, James, I want to talk. I want to talk about Forrest, right? I really do, and I want to have a wee. This is looking at 522 appearances. You know, I remember when he debuted on 9-10 and came on, and he was that wee sort of slightly wee chunky, wee stocky dude,
Yeah,
with a terrible haircut and the spotty face and a mad run. He'd left his coat hanger in his top. Right, he's still got that run, but he's he's came on. And I was having a wee look through his stats, and arguably the golden period of James Forrest is from the 17-18 season up to 19-20. For there, kicked off first real sort of positive, not well, it was always a positive contributor, but in terms of adding some numbers and a wee bit more and being more regular, 8 goals, 13 assists in that 17-18, it really ramped up 18-19, 18 goals, 20 assists, and then the following season, 16 goals and 23 assists. But he has been a mainstay in and around the club. Yes, there's been some periods with injuries, but every single time he says that he's been called upon, he has produced the goods. There's been points where he's had to step in, put on the armband, times he's had to play as a striker, and he's always adapted. He's always given every manager that's decided to give him a shot to play him. He's shown some worth, and particularly when we look back to last season, when he was brought back in out the cold storage, he hit the ground running, and he was one of the players, Adam Heed included, we'll go on the big man there, who really dragged us up with the back of the collar and pulled us to the title on that one. 39 Scotland caps to boot as well, so very much well decorated and well deserved, and a great career there. I just want to know, everybody's got a favourite player. Everybody's got somebody to gravitate to. What is it about James Forrest that captivated you? Because as I said, I'll be totally honest, mate, it still to the day surprises me. You're genuinely the first actual Celtic fan that I've known that is so enthused about James Forrest, and I love it because even the unfashionable people need to have the biggest fans, mate. What was that about?
Call me unfashionable there.
No,
that was a slight dig.
I've got a cheek to talk because I says, in a team that had Larson, Sutton, etc. My favourite player was Paul Lambert, right? So I've got a cheek to maybe say that. However, I just want to know, what is it about Jamesy, mate? What is it about him? Talk to me.
I honestly couldn't put my finger directly on it. I think that he does have that bit of flair, though, that you don't usually see from homegrown talent as well. I think that's probably one of the biggest things for me. He is able to create some fantastic opportunities, as I said before, where he can just, his football can be phenomenal. Now, we'll all have our down days, and I'm sure he's no stranger to that as well. And if I was to think back, I could think of a few occasions. But at the same time, I think he's still been, generally speaking, a good consistency. And he's, like you say, he's dragged the teams through thick and thin to get there. He's added in the performances that we've needed at the time we've needed it as well. So, yeah, I think he's fantastic. Yeah, I think he is fantastic. I can't describe or put my finger exactly on why. It's maybe because he is so close to my own age as well. You know, I think to myself, God,
if I was good at
look what you could have done if you didn't have 2 left feet. Aye, you know, one of these things. 2 left feet and about multiple surgeries on every single bit of your body. Anyway, so I think it's partly down to that as well. But I'm not the only one. I've got a family member. She is young, in fairness. She's in her sort of late teens, but she absolutely loves him as well.
So in other words, when she was just a wee girl, you were saying, by the way, this is the best Celtic player. Planted that seed.
He's the best one. 100%. No, she was even telling me a story a couple of weeks back there. He was coming into the stadium and everyone's, shouting, Maida, Hatate, for all these boys. And she's standing at the side going, Forrest! She's the only one. And everyone's looking at her like, what?
That's class. That's absolutely class. But the thing now, as I say, it's brilliant. It's genuinely brilliant to see, and I think that we should be celebrating our homegrown heroes, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Where else should be? We've had players that are homegrown players that have played for the jersey and have gave his great service like Scott Brown. But truly, when Kieran Tierney comes back, he could be the sort of next one. I know that he had a big departure in there, but literally, James Forrest, he's the one club man. It's just unheard of these days, and I don't think, to be honest, that we'll ever see that again. And I think it's important that we really do hold him up in high regard. The question is, and I probably know what the answer is going to be here for you, right? The term gets thrown about, doesn't it? Icon, hero, legend.
I think that he is a legend. I genuinely do. To make 522 appearances, you have to be some sort of good in any case. You need to be a good player no matter what to make that many appearances, and to have been kept on for so many seasons as well. Whether you've been scouted out to elsewhere or you've been, headhunted by whoever, is irrelevant. I think he is very much a legendary player that should be written very well in the history books of Celtic. Absolutely. I don't think they could have a bad thing to say to him.
Aye, no, that I think, and I'm with Keith. As I say, it's coaching badges, and then in the background, I think that there's definitely value in having a player like James Forrest around. As he says, it'll be interesting to see what he's got for that aspect. Right now, he'll just be focusing on still playing for Celtic, as he says, and hopefully it happens. But the big question as well for you with regards to James Forrest, mate, there's still a few games to go.
Mm-hmm.
He always scores every season in the league. It's no happened yet. So is it going to happen?
But we didn't see much of him at all at the start of the season, or even midway through the season, in fairness as well. He was out for a long, long time. So, I think had he had been in fitter shape and able to play then, that he would have scored in that time. Absolutely. I have to believe that for my boy. And I believe that he still will do it. As I said to you before we even came on here, I think other players as well are going to be laying it at his feet for him to get that, because I think as well he deserves it. It's not just that he wants it and we want it and everything like that. I think he absolutely deserves it. Definitely so.
Do you think could this goal come against Rangers? I mean, that would be beautiful, wouldn't it? That would be absolutely beautiful to see that.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for, and that's what I'm hoping we've been saving it for as well.
And there's been goals against Rangers. Rangers. I think, Termsy, for me, favourite goal against Rangers was in the demolition job. Remember, we were all sitting watching it around at Paddy's. The one where he kind of weaves in and he smashes it nice and hard in the far right across the goalkeeper bottom. Brilliant finish. I want to see a wee bit of that, because as we know, our opposition FC, whatever you want to call them, I would have chucked in the towel yesterday again, didn't he? And we had Barry Brogue saying, when you tell your players something, they don't listen, what's the point?
Aye.
What is the point? What is it?
I know. Listen, people will say stupid things in stupid moments, and that's exactly what's happened. You get beaten down like that, they're going to say that, aren't they? So that's
absolutely.
Just it. I'm not even going to entertain his comment there, because it's just stupidity. You're the manager. They're meant to listen to you. If they don't listen to you, why are you not haranguing them?
It's not our problem. It's not a Celtic problem. But as we say, we've got records to be breaking. We've got stuff to be cracking on, mate. And it's just beautiful to see. What a great way to do it. Do it in style. These past 3 games, it's been, whatever happened after St Johnstone, that message has been dialed in, because free flowing, we've been dominating the possession, loads of shots, the sharpness is back, the tempo, the movement, the passing, to get a wee bit of John Collins there, but the goals have been flowing as well. And I think that's the important thing here. And running, sprinting over the line, not crawling, because as we say, that was the criticism, wasn't it? Celtic were crawling on their belly to the title. No, Celtic have absolutely smashed themselves through the barrier to go to the title. And I think the exclamation mark on this, the big bullet point bang, has to be a performance against Rangers next week, innit?
Absolutely.
Got to be.
If we don't pull out all the stops next weekend and absolutely demolish them, and there's bigger problems. But I truly believe it's on. We said this the last time. I totally understand that, and we all bought into it. But come on, we've got the momentum. We've got the reason to do it as well. It's not just about. We all know it's not about the league anymore. That can get to. We're not thinking about that anymore. We're thinking about, right, we cannot lose 3 derbies. It's not on at all.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, there's plenty of positives still coming in there for Jamesy Forrest. And I love to see it. Love to see that support for Jamesy Forrest. As we say, Celtic officially now most decorated player. Cal
Yes.
McGregor's just behind him. Just behind him there. So
He's on 24, isn't he?
yeah, and you'd probably say in the fullness of time, it will eventually become Cal McGregor, but again, Cal McGregor through the youth order, these are the guys that we want to be doing. McGregor he's a captain, he's focal point, not he gets so much praise, lapped on him, and rightly so. But it's great to see the flowers getting given to James Forrest and people really stepping up, appreciating him. And speaking of other decorated people, we have to mention BrendanRodgers now, of course, in the great pantheon of the Celtic history. He's still working away, he's still working and chatting away. However, the interesting one there is that he's Celtic's most decorated living manager now.
Yes, aye.
And again, I would like to say he's a humble man when he get put to. He tried to play it down. But BrendanRodgers, like James Forrest, there's just something there. And there was always the raised eyebrows. There was a couple of dissenting voices when he came back round. For you, BrendanRodgers, where are you at with the boss? Because he's turned round and he's smashed all these rumour mills, people saying he's teed up for Spurs when Ange goes if he doesn't, all this. And he's come out and says, and his actual wording, just to paraphrase him, was, and again, typical Brendan style, it was a wee bit of the dramatics where he says, there's very few folk who truly know me and less people who understand me.
Yes. He's a man with good words, isn't he? Like he's a wordsmith, definitely. No, I'm glad to hear that he doesn't have any intentions of leaving, and I look forward to him increasing those records as well. I'd like to see that for him as well, because I think it gives himself a bit of vindication on, the terrible job that he had and had done previously. So, I'd like to see him get these records over the line, get more of them under his belt. Not for future prospects, but just in general to, as I say, give himself a bit of vindication.
I think it's safe to say, isn't it, that any concerns that folk had around BrendanRodgers, his commitment levels have well and truly been put to sleep. Now, there'll always be people that'll be salty, won't there? There'll always, even we're getting Tierney coming back, there'll always be folk that are salty because Tierney left. That's just the way of football. That's football fandom. That's your privilege. That's your prerogative as a fan to have any feelings in that. For me, at the time, I'll be honest, when Brendan left, I was as pissed off as anybody. I felt a wee bit sort of cheated. It was mid-season. I didn't like the way. However, I like an adult head on, always try to be objective, as I say, on the channel with all my views when I look at these things. And he came back and he was very much honest and says it was very much a decision, but it was put to me to make a decision I had to do head over heart and all that kind of stuff. And I think anybody that would say that the manager, it's, a bit Walter Mitty and a bit showy, the whole Celtic, I think that's a lot of absolute nonsense. We've seen that. We've seen there's a real, true investment and connection with the manager here. And the fact that he is, as we say, is now the most decorated manager, living manager that Celtic have in their history at this moment in time, we've got another season out of him, minimum. We know that.
Yep.
And he's only going to add to that. And I think that with the mindset that he's in, with the way that he's shown that man management, because last season, his first season back, we're absolutely cruising. He maybe had a couple of missteps, maybe said a few things, eroded some of the faith away, results dropped. But then, that second half, he was able to show his worth, pull the players back up. Yeah, we need performances, but that comes from the manager. That comes from instilling something in them, putting something in them to get them over the line. And then we see this season, he truly is an elite manager. and you don't want to be wishing them away, mate.
No, definitely not. As you say, the only thing I don't want to ever happen is that he goes too long with the club and then ends up the drive and the thrill of it kind of teeters off. That's what we don't ever want to see from any manager that we have. So I'd like to avoid that. But if we can get, I think, another 2 seasons out of him, I'd be over the moon with that, and I'd be happy to wave him out the door in a nice manner, and be saying, okay, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, and well done. That's where I would be happier. I think that we all lost that bit of faith and love for him because we were in such good shape and we were in, fast pace and great momentum behind the team and everything as well. That's why we were so kind of downtrodden about it beforehand. So yeah, I'd like to see him do better in Europe as well. I think he's got the capability to do so. So I'd like to see him get something out of that as well. I think he does also deserve it, like I was talking about with Forrest as well.
Well, that's it. But undoubtedly, the manager seems to be in a good place. He's gave us his assurances, and that's really what we want to hear. And I think as well, him giving those assurances as well. We're not selling players. We don't want to see that. But any wee thoughts at the back that some players might have, I think, particularly when you look at it, and we're about to start talking about the game, when you talk about guys like Nicholas Kuhn, who it's kind of funny, isn't it, how you can just have these sort of wee sliding doors moments, there's wee twists and turns here and there. A guy that we're saying, look to have checked out. Well, I tell you what, Nicholas Kuhn yesterday, that was a return to form. We're about to kick into the game 100%. Here, but that was a return to form. And again, knowing that a manager like BrendanRodgers is going to be coming around, you've only been there for really, let's be totally honest here, 1 season. That additional introduction that Kuhn had, injuries and things like that, right, with the mouth issue, you can't really write that off. He's 1 real season at it. And I just think if you're a player and you've got a manager talking with that certainty level that I will be here, I've got jobs to do, I want us to get better, that's going to help keep you around as well. It's not only going to allow you to keep some key players that you want at the club, but certainly as well, as you say, as we're looking at Europe, that's got to be the next thing. Of course, bread and butter, you always want to be retaining your title. You want to be adding on to that tally. It's too early to talk about it now. We had that come around a 9 in a row. You want to start working with that. It becomes almost a really realistic thought process again. But Europe is going to be the acid test for Celtic. We performed well. We showed that we can adapt. The manager showed that he can adapt. And that is, if we're being totally honest, and being slightly, under strength, not being fully kitted up here. We need to give him it and really see what he can do.
Yeah.
If we give him the tools properly, aren't we?
Loosen the reins. We've got to loosen the reins a little bit, and let him go for it, go hell for leather, and see what comes out of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I agree. Tarn's saying here, we need to try and identify some new players. Of course, I think that would be ideal if we could see that. And it's going to be interesting because we look through there and, there's been, as we well know, great youth players that have slipped through the net recently. So it'll be interesting to see if there is going to be somebody, if there's somebody there that the manager actually thinks is the next one to come through and bleed through. But again, the manager's got many, many eggs in his basket, many things to be considering. And I'm looking forward to see what the summer brings. But of course, we've got to get down to business. We've got to get down to the weekend's action. How did we seal it? Well, we know that Dundee United games against them up at Tannadice, it's been happy hunting ground over the years, as we say. Big Venagura Hesselink done it. We've seen Yakimakis do it in a draw. But look, 5-0, picking up where we left off, smashing in the goals.
Yes.
Mate, generalise the performance. Good way to do it, wasn't it?
What can you say? Excellent performance, 5-0, phenomenal. I'd actually be hard pressed to have a complaint about any player on that pitch, which is what I love to see, and I'm sure we all love to see. I'd be really, really hard pressed to pick out a single player and go, his performance was shocking, terrible. He just wasn't doing this, he wasn't doing that. I think that everyone linked up really, really well. They marked their men well. First 20 minutes a little bit shaky for us, dare I say it. There was no major threats, but I think they could all see, a wee opportunity there. We need to watch that.
Yeah.
We need to watch that back line a little bit. But
You took the words out of my mouth. I thought that, as we've seen, it was very similar to that last game that we did the draw with Dundee United. Loads of possession in that opening sort of 25 minutes, but they knew the score. They knew that Celtic were here to win the title, and it was a kind of damage limitation. Let's just try and camp in. Let's resist as long as we can, because they weren't offering any real great threat. There was one or two wee flashing moments where they had it, but there was nothing solid. It was big punch into the box, looking for Dalby, looking to try and get on the end of something, but there was no real serious threat for them. I think they were just happy to contain and try and be stuffy. And as I say, damage limitation. I think they knew that it was definitely coming. They knew that the goals were going to eventually come. It was just, how long can we fend off Celtic? So I agree with that. That first 25 minutes or so, it wasn't ideal, but we do eventually get the goal. It's an OG. It's fortunate, mate. We'll take them anyway they came. Jota ran away celebrating as if he'd knocked in.
He did. In fairness, though, he did kick the back of Strain, wasn't it? He kicked the back of Strain's leg, so he did probably think that he got contact for a wee second, but it is what it is, as you say. We'll take them as they come. And either way, it kicked off, a flurry of goals, because they were in rapid succession after that as well.
Yeah, but we spoke about Brendan's performance and coming round and how he's turned the corner and stuff, and with some of the fans and showing his worth and showing his quality. We sang the praises of Jamesy Forrest, but a guy who was heavily involved, Nicholas Kuhn, another guy who was heavily involved, Adam Ida. Let's start with Nicholas Kuhn, because we'll be totally honest, we'll hold our hands up. We've been critical of him lately, as is the manager, as was clear, because he dropped him out on the bench. He done the right thing, I think. He went back to the well. He went to the guys who, in the early start of the season, for the vast majority of the season, Jota obviously doesn't fully count because he came back in, but he came in and he was shown something when he was reintroduced to the side, when he was re-signed. But he went back to what was considered to be his best attacking team. He gave these guys a platform, says, there you go, we're going to win the title today. You've been one of the ones, the driving forces that have helped us get to this point. Go and do it. Be part of it. Go and smash it. And I think whatever conversation, mate, has been had with Nicholas Kuhn, I would have loved to hear what it was, because called it motivational must be an understatement. Because what are all the things that we've been saying about him? We're saying he looks body language, he looks bored, he looks disinterested, there's no energy, he's lost that drive, he's not doing the overlaps, he's not taking shots. And one thing he's not doing, and he done plenty yesterday, backtracking, digging in, winning the ball. Nicholas Kuhn, where has Nicholas Kuhn, this version, been since Munich, mate?
Mate, I'm telling you, right, they must sit and watch our podcast. There's no two ways about it. They must sit and watch it and go, do you see what these guys, do you see what they're saying about you? They see what you're saying about you? It's true. It's true. So I reckon that's exactly what's happened, because
that's it. Let's start a rumour. It's official Celtic Watch CWO.
100%. Get that trending on Twitter and everything, right? I'm telling you, because Brendan sits and shows them
these roasters.
Absolutely. He sits and watches the guy with a big stupid beard and a Corona in his hand. But it's like they listened in to everything that we were saying, how he'd become predictable. He's always tracking into the middle on his left foot and everything like that. And he seemed to just all of a sudden eradicate that overnight, almost, and we're thinking to ourselves, this is the player that we've been longing for the entire season. Entire season, but half of the season at the very least. It's a player we've been screaming out for and dying to have back again. As you say, a return to form could have been done. We couldn't have been done better.
Wait a minute. Hold the bus. Let me just stop this. We don't normally do it. We've got an infiltrator. Mark Dewey. Listen, let me just stop you right here, right?
Okay.
It's not our fault we're the most successful team in Scotland, right? It's not really our fault, mate. I know you've maybe come in here. let me guess. You don't need to guess the club because you know it. But he's resorted to point scoring on the vile, low belly scum stuff that is child abuse.
Oh, for God's sake.
Unbelievable. Show me someone who is bitter. Show me someone who really can't handle the success, who wants to drag themselves down to the lowest possible point. Mark, you've managed to do it, mate, and you've been banned, so thank you very much. But I would say like, subscribe, and share. You can't do that. But mate, this is how broken some other fan bases are.
It's the rubbish we need to deal with. But listen, it is what it is. Let them do and say whatever they want. It's their choice. They're the ones that will get themselves banned. They'll get pulled up. And nowadays, folk are getting arrested for saying daft stuff online as well. Anyway, so batter in, my friend. Go for it.
We wouldn't normally waste our oxygen on that, but I think it's important to address these things. Listen, we're all for having proper banter. There's been Rangers fans in here, and they'll talk to folk in the chat, and we're all for it. Do you know what? That's it. It is what it is. But please do not be making these kind of comments. It is just absolutely sick. It is completely inconsiderate, and I genuinely can't fathom the mindset of anybody who thinks that a subject as horrendous as things like that is worthy or is the way to try and show your unhappiness at something. These are actual people.
It's not
these are people with lives that have been greatly affected.
Team?
It's pathetic. So don't want to see that there. And thanks to everybody there in the chat who obviously rightfully identified that and rightfully gave their thoughts on it. And again, he's done it in a very well-versed way. There was nothing unsavoury. They were essentially told what they were, and it is not acceptable. Anyway, back to the action. Talk to about Nicholas Kuhn, because it's the kind of performances that guys like Mark would wish they could see in their side.
Absolutely. No, as I say, he once again became the player that we knew he could be. He delivered that 5-star performance that we knew he was capable of. I was on the edge of my seat for his hat-trick, absolutely. But listen, it's just good to see him return to form that we knew he was capable of. What a shame it came so late in the season. But if you're going to do it as well, do it in style. I did love personally his celebration, because he was walking away going,
So he was doing. He was smiling, mate. He was smiling.
He was exactly, and that's what we want. Do you know, that's the thing. I'll sit in here and criticise anyone that I can if that's the reaction that I get out of them. Doesn't work for everyone, but it does for some, and I'm glad that it managed to motivate him, and that he was able to shut us all up. Fantastic. Well done.
Yeah. Nicholas Kuhn, I says, I was very impressed. I think on the balance of the game, I definitely think that, you've got to give him man of the match. 2 goals, either 2 goals as well. But I think for the sheer work rate, the energy, and a real return to form, for me, he was my man of the match of that game. All the things he says have been shouting out for, picking up the ball, running direct. You got to see that wee relationship with Alistair Johnson that had been there for most of the season. That was back. The perfectly timed wee flicks through him to get the cross ball in, driving at his man, looking for shots, but picking up the positions as well. Because you look at his 2 goals, the first one, it's a great ball in at the back post, and it's quite high actually. He could have easily have shanked that one off the shin or the side of his foot and put it over, controls it and puts it in the back of the net very nicely. And of course, the second one, I think Big Ida fresh airs it. They says, Ida leaves it, no, he throws his foot at it. But he's there. That's the thing. He anticipates, he drives in the box, and he fires it in. But again, with that, 2 assists for Dyson as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, I know. And should I say unknown for Dyson, but well done to him. Although we're all dying for Dyson to just keep firing the goals in, I think it's still fantastic that he's able to just take up that role and assist and whatever else it may be, because he's happy for the team to do well, not just himself. So fantastic. An all round brilliant performance. And do we get onto then the subject of Ida as well? We've been very critical of him too. But,
we have, and but we have been critical of Kuhn. We have been critical of Ida, but let's always caveat it as we do. We always say on the show, anytime we I wouldn't say go in on somebody, but anytime we have a bit of criticism, if you want, what not you calling that as criticism, anytime we criticism, we try to be constructive, and we always base it on what we've seen with our eyes in that game. And in some cases, it might be a couple of games, and you say, it's becoming a bit of a pattern here, and it has. But we've also always says, and I hope they prove us wrong, I hope they pick it up, they ram it down our throat, and they kick on. Kuhn's certainly done that. The timing is fantastic as we look towards next weekend. Of course, as we always say, you're only as good as your last game, so these returns to form will go for absolutely naught, unless it happens at Ibrox. Let's hope it does. But Ida, what did you think of Ida? Because I'll be totally honest here. I'll be honest as ever with you. When I was watching that first sort of sticky, as I say, 25 minutes, I know it's not really his fault, but he was trying to get involved, and the things that he wanted to do still weren't coming off. The hold-up play was poor. Sutton mentioned a few times it was kind of bouncing off him. However, he then turned it, and as he started to score, he scored the goal, everything started to come off him. He looks, he literally does look very much like a confidence player. But again, what did we also say? Focus on the good points, accentuate the good points, and hide the bad. Get him inside the area, the penalty box, and just put balls at him.
He's golden.
And what did we do? Pretty much that, didn't we?
That's it. No, he is. He's golden in the box. I don't think we can complain about him there. Within the last sort of 10 yards, he's phenomenal and a great player, great striker. But yeah, as you say, when he's in midfield, maybe he's just not. He's not great at receiving the ball at any sort of pace. I think we all know that. It kind of does bounce off him a little bit, as Sutton was saying. So, but I do think that his performance all round, even in the midfield and everything as well, was a lot better in the match. And I think if you compare it to 6-7 games ago when he was doing the same thing, same movements, that actually has improved that little bit. His touch has got a little bit better. I'm not as fearful when it gets past him, and it's kind of a sticky moment. I'm not as fearful.
I think he does. He does. Goals are great. The header, he does everything right. He's centre of the box. If you want to be completely pernicky, I don't think he's put into him any great deal of pace. So in terms of getting a nice clean header straight down the throat of the goalkeeper and putting it past him isn't really there. So he does the next best thing, or as some people say, what you have to do. He heads it down on the ground, makes it difficult, and he puts it in. Great. He needs to be there. He's in the centre. He's from the penalty spot near enough. He puts it away. The second one is a good instinctive striker's finish. He picks it up. We've seen at times he's been a wee bit sort of clumsy with the ball at his feet. Starts off, by the way, actually got to be mentioned, it's a brilliant drive for Cal McGregor. We're sitting talking about players that make a difference, and by God, since Cal McGregor's came back, you've really noticed what you don't have when he's not there. That is literally a we're going to kill this game off moment. Picks it up deep in his own half, and he absolutely drives in the midfield. It's just like part of the Red Sea, runs, and it's a brilliant threaded ball through. But Ida has to do a lot of work because he's slightly getting forced out. The defender's trying to force him out wide, and he manages to dispatch it far to corners. A really good striker's finish there. And as as it's been said in the comments, see if he then goes on and scores the last chance that he kind of makes a bit of an arsey. Hat trick, and you might be saying, man of the match either.
I know, well that's it. It could have changed everything at that moment in time. No, he played brilliantly well, as you say. Well, as I said even before, I'd struggle to find a problem with any player on the pitch, or should I say a permanent problem with them. They all had their moments, I'm sure. Even bits that I would have missed and that others would have missed and everything as well. I actually didn't think that was Calmac's strongest game that he's ever had. He did create that fantastic opportunity, no denying that. But I don't think we actually seen a lot of him in that game at all. Whereas I think that we definitely seen a lot of Engels and a lot more of Engels and a lot more of his potential.
I mean, there's
So
a
I
lot.
was really happy with his performance too.
Some of the comments are saying there as well that have been through, just have been going up and down. I think that the form of Kuhn was aided a lot with the play of Engels, the
Yes,
play of Hatate.
absolutely.
It allowed him to get a bit more creative in the game, I thought. So it was a real proper team effort there. But no, I think for me, really good outing from Kuhn. Love to see that. And as I says as well, like to see the fact that he was looking positive, he was smiling. And again, whatever, I know it's maybe you could be happy because you know you're going to get the title over the line, but he just genuinely, from start to finish the game, he looked like he was enjoying himself, joining
Looked
in
a
the
lot more
sing-song at the end.
comfortable.
He did. He looked, and also he looked a lot more part of the team, and you really
Yes.
noticed that as well when the celebrations came around as well. You know, I know that you're with your colleagues and your teammates and you're celebrating a win, but you know, he was going over, buzzing about to everybody, and that's what I want to see. There's obviously a real unity around the side there. We need to kick that on. Slight dampener on the game, of course, was the Jota injury.
Yes.
And it looked quite a nasty one, to be honest. One of those unfortunate ones. I think he studs going to the ground and the two players are running. It's a kind of tangling of the legs. I don't know, not really heard anything deep or proper about the actual injury, the prognosis, how long it's going to be. But we saw apparently it's a knee injury, some sort of twist or similar. But he came out and, as I like to call it, a big Stone Cold Steve Austin knee brace, and he was on the crutches. Pretty much season over there, isn't it?
Well, it's either season over or he and the medical team are thinking to themselves, right, well, let's just belt and braces just in case, you know, that let's make sure we get ahead of it so that if a performance is needed from him up against Rangers, etc., then he's well and fit to do so. So you know, there's two ways that you can look at it. Do we make it look worse right now so that there's not as much disappointment next week, or do we go, right, okay, it's far too serious. We just need to bite the bullet and take him out for it. So you know that there's two ways to look at it. I always land on the optimistic side that, you know, they're just going, listen, belt and braces it. We'll take it as it comes. And we'll see how the week goes. Hopefully, even this morning, he's maybe been feeling a wee bit better and everything as well, and can get back to a bit of light training at least throughout the week.
Well, I mean, it's certainly opportunity knocks, isn't it? Because as much as you don't want to lose an option like Jota, of course we don't. We'd love to have Jota good to go for Ibrox, right, in whatever capacity. But again, I'm going to err on the side of caution. The league's done now, right?
Yep.
There's a game against Rangers, which is essentially, you've got to treat that one like a cup final. However, it's not, for me, important enough that you would in any way, shape or form risk a guy, even if he was recovering back to fitness, and having him on the bench. See if he cannot play like as near as a full game or that 60 minutes. Because we always say, if you could get 20, you could get half an hour out of him at the end. No, see if the manager couldn't say, I could start him and get 60 minutes out of him. Don't even sit him on the bench, because there's no point. There's no point in risking him for a game against Rangers when the league's won. And again, as we say, based on the squad we've got, based on recent form, based on the fact that we've seen that Maeda goal scoring machine where it's through the middle. Yesterday's palm up with assists. Either's got 2 goals. The options are there. James Forrest, who we just sang the praises to the cows came home at the start of the show. The options are there. The requirement, the need, the desperation to have Jota on the bench and feature isn't really there for me, mate.
No. Yeah, I get that. I do get that. As you say, it's not quite worth the risk, is it? So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll take it as it comes. And you know, he'll be a bit raging with himself. He'll be a bit raging with the situation, because I'm sure he's hungry to get out there and beat the other side as well. So it just is what it is, though. You can't risk creating a problem further down the line and for next season when you've just came back as well. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it.
Definitely not. You can't be doing that in the season, and I wouldn't do that. But it's over the halls, I say. We make the substitutions as you need to do, but nothing too much to write home about. Good to see, the likes of Bernardo and stuff back in around the squad. Again, it gives us wee options there, but nothing. The damage was done. The game was absolutely dead and buried, and it was exactly what we needed. Interesting thing that came out as well with the game, obviously, just quickly make a wee passing the two sort of protest periods, if you want to call them that. The first one, which was kind of funnily enough, actually, exactly what was needed there, because we got the what you call? We get the tangerines. We got fresh fruit showered onto the the pitch, and with
Dyson loved every bit of it.
And with a wee bit of stoppage there, and as we said in the comment, it was actually kind of funny. That wee break in the game.
Yeah.
The goal came shortly after it. So, but with that, of course, and then we had the second half. We had loads of Sports Direct specials put onto the pitch. The two protests, all based around the case of the price. It was about pricing fans out of football here. When I was on with Brian and Paul, we spoke about this because the need for Scottish football to improve, and we says one way of doing that's getting in money, and clubs cutting their nose off to spite their face by reducing allocation. Certainly Dundee United didn't have a problem with that. We had that full stand there. In terms of, I believe it was 42, 43 quid for a ticket for the away support there. Yes, you can say that's taking advantage off them, or you can say it is using an advantage, knowing that you're going to get the numbers, knowing that it's going to be one of your highest gates, knowing that your team yourself on the periphery, if you will, financially, that you need to get as much as you can in. They also ran a initiative where if you were attending adult or season ticket holder, you could bring along a friend for a tenner. I'm all for schemes like that.
Yes.
Where are you at with that one, mate? Like, I would say in some respects we've got a wee bit of cheek, right? I would say that. I would say that because not quite 42 quid, but we will certainly be charging top dollar when teams come to us, particularly in Europe, and particularly when Rangers come to town.
At those level of games, our average ticket price, I looked this up not long ago, at those level of games where you're talking sort of Leagues and Cup, semi-finals, whatever else it may be, our average of tickets is something in the region of about £37. So if we're talking pounds and pennies here, it's not a massive increase, right? For the sake of, if you look at everything else in our lives right now of cost of living, everything's went up massive. You're talking some things have went up 100%, 150%, and everything along those kind of lines. We're talking about a 25% increase, which sounds like a lot, but realistically is about £8, right? I'm not totally heartbroken about that. Yeah. Most of us could afford, whether we're at the lowest or the highest level, if we're going to games like that, most of us can afford the extra £8, especially away games, is my thought process.
I mean, I would jump in, and obviously, listen, it's really, really splitting, and I can understand, snitching, are they having a laugh? And listen, 42, 43 quid is lofty for a ticket. Let's not kill ourselves on here. And as Punch is saying, as I brought up, they done an initiative where you could bring a friend and get in for a tenner. So I can see how that's going to rub the away fans up the wrong way. Now, again, football's always considered to be a working class, vocation, and then sort of pastime and sport. And I can understand when we look at other countries, when we look at sort of Germany, and they've got the cap, they've got the pricing cap. I think that's something that should be brought in. I really do. But at the same time, I would have paid pretty much right down a amount on a bit of paper for a away ticket yesterday, and I've paid you. Now again, that's not oh, look at you. I'm just saying, I am fortunate that I can do that, right? So there is people who aren't, and I do understand the flip or the opposite side of the coin there. But as I say as well, let's remember how much Celtic will also. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying it justifies it, but equally as well, we will charge quite a lofty price as well for some away fans at certain times as well. And it kind of goes around, comes around, maybe.
they'll look at it this way as well. See if we say, right, let's put a cost cap on Scottish Premier League games, no matter what, it's say 35 quid, like they do,
Mhm.
as you say, in Germany, etc. The difference is, are you going to pay 35 quid to go and see St Johnstone v Kelly? No, you're not.
Mhm.
You're probably not. The chances of that happening and them filling out
Yeah.
the stadium are so slim. Whereas if you
Mhm.
do it for a Celtic Rangers game, yeah, absolutely, they're going to fill out the stadium, no bother at all. So
Yeah.
there's always these options to weigh up as well. Although we
Mhm.
talk about it being a cost cap, most teams are going to try and be as close to that cap
Yeah.
as they
I
possibly
mean,
can. So
I agree with what McLaughlin's saying here. I think there needs to be a standardised pricing, as we say, like
yeah,
you'll get in the Bundesliga, where there is a bit of a price ceiling, well, that's kind of
hmm
considered to be the maximum. And of course, if you're sitting there and you're Dundee United, you've got a game against, I don't know, St Johnstone, well, it won't be St Johnstone, Livingston, let's just say,
yes,
for next
aye.
season or whatever, right? And your caps, let's just say 30 quid, right? You're not going to charge 30 quid for that. Of course you're not. You're not going to do that. But for certain games when you know there's going to be higher gates, Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, maybe, yeah, do you know what? That's the cap. I think that's what needs to
But there's
happen.
nothing
And it'll just stop.
stopping them doing that though as
There
well.
isn't, and it'll
Do you know what
stop
I
this
mean?
tit for tat.
There's
But
nothing
I also,
stopping them charging that £30
mhm.
cap or
But
limit anyway.
I
So
also agree as well, and Punches again saying the 20's plenty thing. I get it. I really do.
mhm,
I do, and but I also remember I used to pay 20 quid for a ticket, and as you says, and with overheads and cost, and again, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying
no,
with
no.
everything costing clubs, not just Dundee United, Celtic, and everything's higher, as we well know. You used to be able to go and buy. I went was building a deck out the back, right? I was building a frame for a deck, and I went and bought 8 4.5 meter lengths of wood and 2 big sheets of ply, right, for a shed, and it was like 150 quid or something, right? So that's ridiculous, right? You weigh me, right? That's the
Oh,
price.
I'm very with you. You know my
That's
vocation.
inflation, right? That's inflation. So I know that's a
Aye.
bit boring and unfashionable for me to say that, but no, I agree. There needs to be a price cap. There really does. But I also think that it will come back to what we were talking about in the last show about this idea of Scottish football prospering and getting better. See initiatives like Dundee United done to bring somebody for a tenner stuff. That needs to be
Brilliant.
happening more as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. See if they offered that at Paradise,
Hmm.
I'd be there every game. Every game, no matter what. Instead, you're trying to see who you can talk to and get tickets off you and everything like that. I'm all for something along those kind of lines, definitely so. And as I say,
Hmm.
I understand why Dundee United done what they done and why the tickets did
Hmm.
cost that much.
Yeah.
I don't 100% agree with it, but I understand why they done it because they know that listen, it's a big game. It's going to attract a lot of people in. If we can fill out that stand and we can get even an extra pound per person,
Hmm.
it's an extra
Yeah, I
four,
mean,
five, 600 quid.
and this is the thing, and there's loads of opinions swirling around about, and I can
Of
see that,
course,
and that's the
absolutely.
thing. And obviously, Paul's making a good point, where he's saying, what if you don't work though, you're unemployed? Now, I get this. Now, I don't know. Maybe there are clubs that do it. Maybe there is
hmm
schemes for, you get concession tickets, you get, elderly, you get junior tickets. I don't know if you get. We know we get student tickets when you
I,
can
I
prove
was going
that.
to say, I think Celtic actually do if you're on some form. I might be wrong. Please correct me if I am, but I think if you're on some sort of disability and things like that as well, they offer
Or
you
sort of
discounted
benefits, and you can show
prices.
the documentation,
Yeah,
you get access to a cheaper ticket. I do agree with that. So
yeah,
I think that um, there needs to be a sliding scale. That of course there
hmm
does, but again at the same time, we've also got to be slightly realistic that even with that in mind, clubs won't essentially give it away, so to speak,
yeah,
in terms of the
yeah,
price. But again, you can always argue the point. If you bring the ticket price down, there's more chance of them going to the superstore, buying something, going to kiosk, buying something. So it's many variables. But I think
yeah.
that for me, 42 quid, yeah, lofty, yeah, it's steep. Was it taking advantage? Yes, it was. And I can understand why it sticks in the throat of people.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to the likes when it comes to Hampden. We talk about allocations. You look at Aberdeen, who had a very pathetic outcome in turnout for their semi-final. You've then got their head honcho talking and saying, I mean, if the game was held in Peterhead, we would have filled the stadium. Well, why do they always talk as if travelling down to Glasgow is like going to the dark side of the moon? You know, you either want it or you don't. So we'll be interested when the cup final tickets come out, how many of them that they're going to be asking for that there as well. So there's many issues around about ticketing, whether it's allocations, you want a certain amount, turn up, you know, and likewise, if you're going to charge a ridiculous amount, don't be surprised if the other club next time it's your turn hit you back with it. So no, I think this is a round the table thing that kind of needs to get standardised, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely so. Totally agree with you. Yeah, as we said there, I understand why they done it, and I'm not angry about it. Put it that way. You know, then again, I wasn't there. I wasn't paying for a ticket, etc. But yeah, I'm not angry about it. I understand why they done it, but perhaps there has to be a bit more regulation in how much they can increase or will increase those prices in the future.
Yeah. No, and that is the thing. I definitely think that we need to have more. We need to try our best as a club, not just Celtic, all Scottish football. If we want to try and increase attendances for the aesthetic, the atmosphere, to make the game look better, and more importantly for it to prosper, and more money to go into the club's pockets, we need to be like ticketing as, you know, fans will turn up. Celtic, Rangers, week upon week, you could build increased stadium capacity and you would fill it right now.
I don't know. The Rangers fan will leave halfway through usually when we're beating them.
Well, we're not talking about that, but we're not going to go down the rabbit hole extending the stadium and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that for me, it's definitely something that the clubs need to look at. I do agree, as I say, it's meant to be a working class person's game. Of course, it's you can be any class and watch football, but predominantly it is a working class game, and in some respects, certain quarters of the population are unfortunately getting sort of excluded from that, you know. And even telewatch, even if you're a telly fan and you can't afford to go to the game, even that's getting priced out. So unfortunately, football and the pricing around it needs to get completely sorted out, and hopefully for the next season it's something that can come around about. But again, teams like Dundee United, teams like St Johnstone, whoever it is, they need to get their own house in order and stop taking advantage of the fans like ourselves. They know that they can fill their stand. It'd be interesting if anybody knows how much did St Johnstone charge at that time. Pretty much filled their stadium. What was the ticket price there? Because that would have been pretty much their finances for the best part of next season. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So we'll see there. But anyway, to wrap up the game, as we say, distractions aside, the manager didn't seem too happy with it. I think that was not necessarily to do with the message, more to do with the inevitable it came with the wee protest there, that it sort of slows the tempo down, players are cooling down, it knocks you out your swing. As we said, the first one done us favours because it certainly knocked Dundee United out their swing and allowed us to get the advantage. So well done for the tangerine fruit protest in that respect there. I liked a wee bit of that. But
what
to finish
I would
up
say
the game,
though is I didn't like the fact that none, and I mean none, of the Dundee United players helped out. I understand it's not their fans and everything along those kind of lines.
in fact, good point there. Well done.
Do you think for a second that Maeda, Hatate, or anyone along those kind of lines would not have walked down to the other side and helped out if it was the other way about? Because I truly believe that they would have. So I was a little bit miffed by that. Fair play to Goodwin. I understand he wants to get his players in.
It sounds daft, right? It sounds really, really daft, right? But see, when I seen all the players picking up the fruit, I was saying to myself, firstly, I went, oh, brilliant, well done, try to speed up the game. But then I was like, see if somebody pulls something bending down to pick up a
To pick up
tangerine,
something.
I will be
Be
fuming.
raging. Aye,
I
be raging.
will be
Aye,
fuming.
exactly.
And that's not a slant or a shot at the fans for doing it. I was just thinking more along the lines of, what you doing? That's why there's
Aye.
ground staff. Let them pick it up. Do not get
No.
yourself injured for trying to be a nice person and help them speed things up. But anyway, to finish off the game and to finish up tonight, absolute domination, 75% possession, 21 shots on goal, 6 on target, 4 directly from ourselves in the back of the net, 8 blocked, the rest off target, 49 touches in the opposition box, a healthy 741 passes, 650 of which were accurate, and 241 of which were forward passings. So there we go, mate. It's a return to form. It's been a couple on the bounce now where we've seen this.
Yes.
The goals are flowing. We've seen what happened. We've seen that divides, if you will, over at Snake Mountain. Just to touch on it real quickly before we go. Am I being not to dull in the mood here? Not to dull in the mood. I'm going to say it. I've said it the past 2, and I'm sticking by it. I will die in this hill. If Celtic cannot go to Ibrox next week, or next week, on the form that we're on, with the wind in our sails, having got a title over, going there as champions, and can he beat that team? Unforgivable.
Yeah.
Unforgivable. Now, I'm not taking away and sucking all the mood and all the excitement and the smiles that I had all the way through this show.
No, you're a bit. It's all
love
right.
it. What a season. Love it. However, I want to get right down to business with that. For me, completely and utterly unacceptable. Nothing other than a win next week is acceptable. I'm not hearing dead rubber. I'm not hearing doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter.
100% it matters. It matters to more than half of Glasgow, so 100% it matters. It's as you say, it'd be unacceptable. I wouldn't say unforgivable because I think that is slightly harsh. I'd say unacceptable is the term that I would use, and that's when Brendan's going to have some serious words if that was ever the case. Now, I am forever the optimistic when it comes to these kind of
the
things.
balance. San Fran and I'll fair play. I will say that for San Fran, he's been consistent with that message.
Yeah.
Over the past 2 that we're still going to win the league, we're still going to get a treble, and I do get that. And as I say, and I applaud San Fran for being able to think like that. I personally can't. As I say, I'm not saying San Fran doesn't want to win every game because clearly he's a Celtic fan. He would be tuning in, watching us and commenting and all that kind of stuff. But as I say, for me on a personal level, I do think unforgivable. As I say, that's harsh vocabulary to use. You don't necessarily prescribe to that. I mean unforgivable in terms of I come back to it. I cannot recall a season, regardless of how dominant or crawling over the line or just making it has been, where this team between the big 2 has not had the better, or at least an even keel, half and half, where they've came out of a season with a worse head-to-head record. I cannot think of one. And I'm not wanting that to be something. It doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter. And as we say, all you remember is the pictures, the celebrations, the videos that we've seen, and that won't say asterisks head-to-head against Rangers was this. It will not say that in the history books. So I do get that it doesn't matter. But as I say, and I know we don't care what they say, but I just don't want more of this shite that we got, like the 9-0 was a fake 9-0 because the season got cancelled, we handed to you and all that crap. I don't want any of that. I want Celtic to go out, put down the marker and just smash them, because see, for me, this game against Rangers should be treated like a cup final. It is the last one. It is the only one. There is no fixing any wrongs after this one. This is your one chance. This is it. Go and do it.
I think it would taint it all a little bit for us. I
wouldn't go no. See, and you'll say, "What do you want, Stevie?" I wouldn't say taint it, but it would leave a pretty stinking taste in my mouth. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, there we go. That's it.
You know what I mean? And that's it. I love it. Brown Warrior.
Early
That's
predictions
what
for
I'm
next
talking
week?
about. That's what I'm saying. Give them nothing to cling on, not a shred. I don't want anybody walking away and thinking, when all that money comes in during the summer, that we're this close. No, I want, like we've seen the past couple of games, I want goals flying in. I want BrendanRodgers fist pumping. I want scarves on the
Body bags,
track. I want people greeting in the stands, right? I want complete and utter demoralisation. I want my cake and I want to eat it and all. Fucking that's what I want.
Absolutely. Early predictions for next week then?
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We'll check in near the end of the week, as I say, based on what we've seen recently and after the kick in the arse for the St Johnstone match. I would like to think, and that is the key term there, like to think. But mate, I've said that the past two. I'd like to think.
I'm the same, mate. I'm the same.
And I really, really wouldn't like to predict it. I really wouldn't. There'll be a party atmosphere. There'll be a carnival atmosphere. We're going to be bringing the colour. We'll be bringing the noise. I'm sure there'll be plenty of bamming up and winding up and things like that. How serious or not are these fractures that we've seen? Because Barry Brogue put his boys under the bus after the game the other day there, and also as well, he went from saying about how he backs himself and he thinks he's going to get the job and all this, and he believes that he can do a job and he knows what the job's involved, and then the next day he changes it to, I mean, whoever gets the job, he's been told he's not getting the job, right? That's that.
100%.
And then they go and they put in another stinking performance like that yesterday. Is the thread been pulled and things are starting to unravel a wee bit? I don't know. But I can guarantee you the whole blood, snorters, thunder, guts and all that stuff, that will come back out from them. It's important for us to match that, not in terms of the aggression level, because we've never been about that. I just mean match it with a fiery, quick, fast start. Because even you say that, we had a wee slow start again yesterday and it kicked in. And we've seen that at times where we've had a slow start and it kicks in. We need to be from the off. We do.
Yeah. No, I just want to, just before we finish up, I just want to say as well, anyone travelling to the game or anything as well next week, just be careful, be safe, don't do anything daft as well. Let's not give them any ammo. Let's just go out there, play a good game, and make sure we absolutely pump and bury them. Simple
absolutely. Well, we'll get back to that as we say, and we'll see what's going to happen. As I say, I don't think that. I don't want to make predictions on that. All I will say is I'm looking ahead to it. I'm feeling positive off the back of that. I know that they've got their own injury issues. By Jota aside, we've got a clean bill of health. We've got Maeda on fantastic form. We've got a wee flash, a wee call back to the form that we were used to with Nicholas Kuhn when he was putting his name in the hat for the Player of the Year. We've got Adamida. He's turned up with 2 goals.
He just loves the end of the season.
He's going to be
He just loves the end of the season, so he does.
That is it. And listen, James Forrest. He got a goal.
Come on, son.
He got a goal. That's what I want.
He's going on the bet slip. He's going on the betting slip. I'm telling you. 100%.
Time for heroes. The heroes are already made because it's fallen our own. There's more history being written. However, as I say, we're talking about smashing through. We're talking about absolutely killing it. They wanted to win. Their brief was win the last 5 games. That's in the bin. We can still win our last 5 games.
100%.
That's it, and I want to do it. So anyway, let's make it happen. So anyway, listen, thank you everyone. We went a wee bit long tonight, as we say, there was plenty to talk about, plenty to smile about, as we say, and hopefully we'll hear a wee bit of news around about Jota's injury situation as we come up towards the end of the week here. And of course, plenty to look forward to. Let's see how we go on. So, Joe, thanks for joining us. Paddy's internet is obviously broke a deed, so he owes us one. I'll be expecting him to get his backside into the room during the week. As we say, we'll try and get back Paul, we'll get back Brian. And great to have Brian. A new sign as well, because listen, things, the best can only get better. We can only get better. Get Joe in the door, the new signing, he's hit the ground running. He could be our new James Forrest. We've got Brian signed up, so the future's looking bright here as well. Help us extend the channel. make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you hit the thumbs up. We'll catch you later. We'll see you around the bend. Until the next time, take care of yourself. And as always,
Hail, hail.
hail, hail. See you all later.